Hi everyone, welcome to another Memgraph community call. I think we are live now. I hope everyone hears me well. Today I have my colleague Josip with me. Josip is head of solutions at Memgraph. If you ever work with Memgraph, you probably stumble upon his name or his call or tech discovery. He's been all over the place inside Memgraph, I think, and helping our users, our customers. And this is also one part of the motivation why he is here. So he loves to do a lot of things with Memgraph besides working here, right, Josip? So he kind of decided to play a bit with one data set that he has, and he has a great love for pub quizzes, as I've heard, and actually been in a team with him, in a winning team with him once. So he decided to play a bit to try out Memgraph with AI and vector search and so on, and build his own application and basically helping us in the developer experience team as well to see what are the best practices to build your AI apps and how can you do that and how can you do that quickly, like over the weekend. So today he's going to tell us a bit more about that. He's going to show us what he did and his story and his experience with that, and probably along the way give you a couple of tips and tricks on how to do that by yourself as well. I think that's it. Just before we start and I leave the stage to Josip, if you have questions during his presentation, please post them in the Q&A tab or in the chat. Josip will take them over in the QA session later, but if it's something related to the thing that he's showing, I'm just going to jump in. So no worries. And I guess that's it from me. Josip, the stage is yours. Good luck, and I'm looking forward to your presentation.
Hello, thank you, Katarina. Yeah, just to introduce myself, my name is Josip, head of solutions at Memgraph. Been here for more than 4 years, and yeah, mostly doing some technical stuff, debugging with people in community and the ones using Memgraph Enterprise, supporting Memgraph customers, integrating Memgraph, and also doing various business value propositions. One of them is obviously GraphRag and new Spectrum from like this and the previous year. And yeah, I decided to do some vibe coding in one of the weekends, one of the previous weekends, just to test out vector search to see what we can do with unstructured data. A lot of people have their documents all over the place. They're doing Control F and then they search for information. Some of them like have thousands of documents, millions of documents, and like they cannot make sense of it. So I decided to make an application which will be purposely built for learning, where we will then extract something like a data source, arbitrary data source. We'll see how we ingest stuff from Wikipedia, and then we can see how we can actually chat with your knowledge, arbitrary knowledge, and then we can see also how we can make learning interactive by generating a simple pub quiz by utilizing Memgraph, vector search, and vibe coding tools that enable you to gain productivity and do POCs really fast and also showcase it to your business. Without further ado, I will try sharing the screen, and Katarina, just tell me if you can see the slideshow.
Yeah, I can see it. Looks great.
Yeah, great. So yeah, the contents are gonna be first, of course, the motivation why I did it. Then we're gonna deep dive into the demo itself. We're gonna check out which tech stack I used. We can see why Memgraph is actually a good fit for GraphRag use cases and dealing with unstructured data. I'm gonna tell you my thought process. I've been here in Memgraph for 4 years. I have seen various use cases in all of the spectrum of business use cases that there can be, and yeah, you can maybe take some best practices from me, and also we'll take a look at how to productionize your GraphRag applications, and also what's actually the Memgraph's roadmap in GraphRag and the future for GraphRag use cases with Memgraph. Key points to bear in mind. So yeah, what do we want to do with this vector search is okay, we are having unstructured data. We don't know how to actually make them structured. Of course, we can do some kind of entity recognition, but this is a good way to actually embed it with vector indices and reduce the time spent searching for finding out insights. Second thing is you might have also your existing data sources which have been structured, which is mostly the case for legacy companies. They tend to have a lot of structured data, and then they have documents. So what do they do with documents? They can embed them and use them as pivot search um, in order to expand to different other structured functionalities. So bridging the gap between structured and unstructured. Third, with the new advancements in the LLM and RAG space, we will reduce time for prototyping and providing your company's business value by making sure you have all the LLM capabilities ready and all the tech stack ready in order to prototype and provide some value. Yeah, so motivation. What made me code on the weekend? Yeah, first is okay. I wanted to test out combining structured and unstructured data, like I explained in the previous slide. Advancement in AI make prototyping easy, and then we figured out that we spend a lot of calls on the sales side, just with people that have a lot of documents they want to search, and there's like various industries: supply chain industry, automotive industry, banking industry, you name it. And also, yeah, then I wanted to make some interactive application for learning and quizzes because I love pub quizzes. I go almost every week once to a pub quiz. I like to learn, and I wanted to make. I know how it's like for some like some people don't like reading, don't like learning, and stuff like that. It might be troubling at some points, but yeah, I tried to make it as fun as possible. So yeah, let's dive in the demo. Hopefully the presentation will be shared with everyone, and then you can access the code link down. It's a really simple application, but yeah, the application is coded in Streamlit. Katrina, can you just verify that you see the screen?
Yep, I can see the screen.
Yeah, so currently we have Memgraph running and we have this Streamlit application. As we can see, Memgraph is currently with Memgraph Lab, it's empty, but we will try to actually ingest some page from Wikipedia as our paragraphs. So that will be our documents. I don't have like a PDF reader, so I just added like a Wikipedia reader that will actually ingest like from this page history of Rome, and we will save it as a category Rome. What it means to save it as a category Rome, it will just append the label Rome, and then I'm going to ingest it and we'll talk. Meanwhile, this is getting ingested into Memgraph. In the background, what is actually happening, we are creating a vector index for Rome, and then every time the parser finds a paragraph that's more like than, I don't know, 100 characters long, it will say, okay, it's oh wow, storage mode. Yeah, of course that this happens always
It's a
when
live
you're
demo,
doing demos.
Josip. No
Yeah,
worries.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely, yeah. Yeah, let me try reconnecting. Just I'll restart the application. Yeah. Uh, okay. Launch.
Someone wrote in a chat like demo effect. It always happens live, so no
Yeah,
worries.
yeah, 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 yeah. Totally, totally. Let's try it again. But yeah, what happened? What was supposed to happen? History of Rome, and then I will save it as Rome, and then we will ingest it and create vector index.
At least we can debug it together if it's not working. So that's
Totally, like
also a
we
good
can turn
session.
this. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can turn this totally in a technical session. I'm sure there's
Yeah.
some people. Yeah, okay. Replace 203 paragraphs. Of course, when you restart it, it always works, so that's good. I'm not wasting your time, guys. But yeah, let's check out what's happening here. So we have a node. I mean, this is the schema, right? We have a node which is Rome, and then we have a next, which means that actually a node is a paragraph. It has an ID, content, and the vector, and then we have like the index page, blah blah blah. But yeah, let's check out what's actually happening. Match me a pattern. Return an RM limit 10. Thank you. And yeah, let's see what's this one node. Medieval Rome is characterized by a break with Constantinople and the formation of the Papal States. And then this is one chapter. It has a vector with dimension of 768 to represent this actual content, right? And then we have the next, which is this one, and then that's the next paragraph. The Roman Renaissance occurred in the 15th century, and so this and so that. It also has a vector, 768 dimensions. Great, we have 203 paragraphs of unstructured data in Memgraph. What do we do with it? Well, we can explore the data. We can retrieve the data set. Okay, we have a first paragraph. Okay, the history of Rome includes the history of the city of Rome. And then the two most significant things are actually chatting with your knowledge, where we can retrieve data and actually figure out the way without searching in the documents, because searching the documents is keyword search, exact search. It's not even like a fuzzy search. I mean, if you don't search with regex, but this is kind of a more intuitive way that users vector index to in order to query. So let's ask a question like, who founded Rome? And that should be Romulus and Remus, which founded Rome in, not sure which year. I think it was 753 BC. Yes, it's 21st of April, 753 BC. According to the Roman tradition, Rome was founded by the mythical figure Romulus, along with brother Remus. Yeah, let's try querying something else, like what are football clubs in Rome? Maybe this information is not present. I'm not sure. Yeah, examples do not provide information about football clubs in Rome. When was the fall of Roman Empire?
Josip, I have an important question for you. So, how many times per day do you think about Roman Empire?
At least once a day. At least once a day.
Okay, that's what
Yeah,
I expected. Yeah.
yeah. Mostly before I fall asleep. And yeah, sometimes in the middle of the day. After lunch. Yeah, the fall of the Western Roman Empire occurred in 476 AD when the city was conquered by the Ostrogoth kingdom. That's really nice. And now we will generate a 5-question pub quiz, for which I kind of designed that even the LLM can decide which questions are harder, which questions are medium, and which questions are easy. And now hopefully it will generate something and not crash. Yes. And yeah, and this is like a medium question for some pope who took personal initiative in starting negotiations. I really don't know this. I would fail on a pub quiz. This I also don't know, but yeah, basically, it is a pub quiz generated based on the data that you have yourself ingested in Memgraph. You're chatting with it through vector search, and you generate the pub quiz through also cipher queries and LLM. Yeah, that's basically it regarding the pub quiz. Yeah, I kind of thought of this app to be like a mix of learning, and it can be used for different use cases. Like a lot of people in legal have their documents, like extreme amounts of documents where they need to improve productivity search. But a lot of people, like in learning institutions, might benefit from this. Although, yeah, the I mean, it makes it easy to chat with your knowledge, so people are then not studying, looking at the book. But yeah, I'm not sure what's the actual best way to learn. So yeah, that's basically it. I hope it will help you guys. And yeah, this is it for the demo. And now we will go into some intricacies of how I created um, this whole this whole example. Kate, are there any questions?
We have some. Okay, so first of all, maybe let's comment on the question from that we saw before. So about vector search and the persistence. User asked, you remember that question? They used the previous version of Memgraph, like 2.2.2, and then they needed to configure vector search with some flags and so on. And this somehow changed in the Memgraph 3.2. Can you maybe comment on that and saying like what is the best way currently to set up vector index, and will this persist across container restarts?
Yeah, so I'm not sure in which version was vector search implemented, but it was 2 point, let's say 20 or something like that. And then it was experimental, and yeah, it was enabled with a flag. And it at some point it didn't offer persistence, but now from 3.0, I'm sure it offers persistence. And if we fixed also a few bugs regarding vector search, so the actual advice there is actually to use Memgraph 3.2 with the latest new fixes about everything, including vector search. And vector search is a new feature, so I'm sure there were some recent fixes regarding that. Vector search in 3.2 doesn't use any experimental flags because it's production ready, and you don't need any flags to 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 enable vector search. You actually are enabling it via queries, and it persists automatically. So that's actually the whole benefit of making it production ready. Is you just use create vector index to create it, drop vector index to drop, and that's basically it. If you create a snapshot or if you're in transactional mode, everything should persist from the get-go.
Okay, thank you. I think that answers that. So we have a bit more GraphRag related questions. So what's the benefit of this GraphRag versus using just vector database, for example, ChromaDB?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, let me pause there and then we can get back on this question. I'll go into a few slides and then we can see like what is all this happening inside this application, and then we will actually figure out, okay, what are some of the trade-offs, if that's fine.
Yeah, I agree. We have another question that might be better to tackle after you go into depth with this.
Okay. Yeah, I'll share the screen again. So yeah, just let me know if you can see the text slide.
Yeah, looks great.
Yeah, so yeah, brief comments on what did I use. Memgraph, of course, because I worked there. Then obviously Memgraph is paired with usearch, which is our vector search index. So shout out to usearch, our great friends, which enabled us to do vector search native in Memgraph. They offer some great in-memory indices with amazing performance, just like Memgraph offers great performance with an in-memory storage. Then obviously ChatGPT with an OpenAI key. I used Cursor for coding because it's a simple Python application, and I really liked how it integrated with LLM capabilities, making sure that my code is analyzed and providing me insights on what to do next, and even suggesting some things which I didn't know about. And then, of course, Streamlit. I started out as a backend developer, and I know a lot of C++ and stuff. And because I like to do different side projects, I did know how to use Vue and Angular and some of React. But actually, Streamlit proved to be one of the better solutions when I need to code something for a day, and without worrying about what's the front end going to look like. And yeah, it's a great way to actually code in Python your front end and render things and show it to anyone, because it offers some beautiful visualizations that we saw. It's nothing like super flashy, but it's just enough to get over the message, and that's mostly what we want to do with Memgraph, throwing some value with a little bit of flashiness with Streamlit. Yeah, so why Memgraph? Why did we do all this in the application? One thing is actually to obtain higher accuracy. Obviously, you have your LLMs, and they have been learning on like a wide majority of stuff on the internet. and my friend works in at Google for Gemini. Shout out to also Josip, who is doing a great job there. But one of the thing is that a lot of people have their own data sets, their own databases, and actually LLM cannot know that without a graph database. One other thing is why you need to pair your graph database is by actually coupling the LLM with the database and making sure the LLM can provide you like a query that's going to query the database. You will ground your knowledge to the source of truth, which will achieve you better accuracy. Obviously, like people do like two approaches there. One to put the knowledge into the context window, and that's fine for some sizes because the context is limited. There's soon going to be like a million token context window, but it still like doesn't scale for the amount of data that can be there in the database, and the attention is also a problem with these LLMs. But what LLMs can do, okay, they can do better always, is text to cipher, text to SQL, and these kind of tasks. So where you actually ask a question and you actually provide it with a query, and then you kind of can query your database, retrieve the knowledge, and then summarize it with an LLM. Currently, on this app, we didn't perform like the text to cipher, but we actually used just the vector search, and then we summarized the similar documents from the knowledge base. Of course, the productivity boost is another example of why would you want to use, because Memgraph is bundled with vector search and with all these integrations in the AI space. Of course, by combining vector search with your hierarchical knowledge along your structured data, it enables you to actually do pivot search from like multiple ways. You can either make sure your source point is a document and then expand like 2 or 3 hops from there. You can make even like a source point an image and then expand from there, or you can just ask a plain cipher query to retrieve your structured knowledge. Fourth thing, Memgraph offers, like I said, usearch, which is an in-memory vector index, and it's currently like blazingly fast. And our friend Ash has some great benchmarks regarding other vector databases, and we will actually soon release some benchmarks regarding other vendors in the graph space to actually see how we performed against them. And yeah, we believe we'll be the one on top regarding the performance. Memgraph is a good fit because it offers a lot of integrations in the GraphRag space with frameworks like Llama Index, LangGraph, and MCP, and also offers a proprietary graph chat component inside Memgraph Lab for your business stakeholders like Lab and graph chat a lot because it's just there for them to answer their questions. And yeah, reducing complexity by implementing everything in one place. I said Memgraph is bundled with vector search, and that eases your implementation time. Obviously, if you have a lot more scale, you might already have something in your existing code base, like I don't know, Pinecone, Chroma, Milvus, VV8, whatever. You are welcome to keep the vector embeddings also in those solutions, and then use Memgraph on par with it. And yeah, I'm gonna talk a bit more about the trade-offs because of the roadmap, and then we will fully, I think, answer the question from that mentioned ChromaDB. Yeah, considerations when making this rag POC. We can see the schema. It's actually just a sequence of paragraphs with content and the vector, and then we can see what queries I actually used. So this is for the question who has for the person who has the vector index. Now it's fully available in 3.2 with a query. You just create a vector index. You specify dimension, capacity, metric. It will create, I think, in usearch a 32 float, 32 float f32 value for the floating point, and yeah, like 4 bytes. And then you also have the dimension, and then you can play with it with the dimension in order to figure out what's the best accuracy for you. Then creating a paragraph node, that's a simple create, and then based on actual category, which is a label, and then the property. This vector will actually get appended to the vector index, which is what we want for vector search. We additionally link the subsequent paragraphs together by two matches and a create, which is a simple creation of relationship. Then we can just retrieve labels with a simple Cypher query. I think this also exists as a procedure, but I don't like using procedures because if Cypher is expressive to me, then I would like to just use as much Cypher because that's kind of the critical path in all the databases. Whereas procedures like are targeted code, and then like they can be fine, but like also they're an API and they have their inputs and stuff like that. So yeah, they're not as expressive as Cypher as a declarative language. Yeah, all labels retrieval. I use that for the actually selecting the categories. Then we have the data set exploration where we just match the row paragraphs and then we return the content. And yeah, then we have the vector search. And yeah, this is the fun part actually. What's happening when you ask a question, who founded Rome? This then is applied as an embedding. It's converted into a 768 element list representation of the question, and then we call the vector search, retrieve the 20 most similar documents, and then we proxy that to the LLM and say, okay, now this was the question, these are the most similar documents. You'll figure out what's the answer, but don't use any external knowledge. And then also for the quiz, we just use a simple BFS. BFS, this is a proprietary Memgraph's implementation of BFS where we expand from this path to another, and it works really well. I think the best one in the market so far for BFS. And yeah, basically just retrieves like from 5 paragraphs, it retrieves some questions. Let's look at the prompts. Prompts are the second most important thing with the actual Memgraph implementation with vector search, because like Memgraph vector search and LLMs exist in a symbiosis in order so LLM can be proxied to figure out what's the answer. So we can actually go through the knowledge chat using only the information from the following Wikipedia excerpts, which we retrieved with this query. Answer the question below in the 2 parts, provide a brief answer, and then write a detailed answer. Yeah, do not use any external knowledge or make assumptions. If the answer is not present in the excerpts, clearly state the information is not available, which will then, this part is actually necessary because this is actually grounding the truth. This is actually saying, don't use your stuff that you learned. I don't trust you. I trust Wikipedia. And that's also like a bold statement, but yeah, I trust my source, whatever that is. And then respond in the following language. I use this because I'm Croatian, and then I could actually make a Croatian version of it. And then yeah, you have the question, excerpts, and the answer is what the LLM gives you. For the quiz one, we do like an introduction to him. You're a pub quiz master. Using the information, generate the fun and challenging quiz questions, and then you can respond in the following language, and then this is going to be the JSON array of questions in the following format. Question, difficulty, this is how I managed to color code the questions, what's the answer, and what's the explanation, and that's actually based on the paragraphs. That's it. Future improvements, how, like, let's say we had infinite time on this application, what would we do? And second thing, what's on the Memgraph's roadmap? So yeah, 4 things which I outlined. Obviously, when you're dealing with agents, they can kind of create a query, let's say with text to cipher and stuff like that. If you're doing that, you might want to prevent them from manipulating your data set, enabling them do only reads and stuff. Memgraph offers role-based access control, so you can limit them to do reads. Also, if multiple clients are ingesting their data sources to them, you want to either have some separation of graphs on the application level, or you can use Memgraph's multi-tenancy for separating concerns between clients. Obviously, this was really a simple application, but you'll have your workloads that will be much more complex than my example, with much more with many weeks of vibe coding instead of my one weekend of vibe coding. But yeah, robustness in RAG framework. So those are like can mean different stuff like cipher generation improvements, semantic validations, making sure your LLM understands your data set, and also long-term memory, and yeah, like retries if the query is not correct. Prompt engineering, stuff like that. And also, yeah, I mean, if we had multiple let's say vibe coding weekends, we could have ingestion from multiple sources. Like apart for Wikipedia ingestion, we can do like PDFs, plain text, images, whatever, in order to make sure like we can like ingest knowledge from textbook or something like that. When we talk about productionizing, I will also share a link which I made public last week. So in the deployment section of the docs, we have Memgraph in GraphReg use cases. What is that? That is a guide to bringing Memgraph in GraphReg use cases to production. It's actually nested on top of best practices, which kind of cover everything, how to bring your Memgraph instance into production, from hardware requirements, sizing, configuration, deployment options, flag set, storage mode, backup, importing, enterprise features, queries. And then this GraphReg stuff kind of overrides all from the best practices in the GraphReg way. We also have the high throughput workloads, and we'll add use cases such as supply chain, cybersecurity, fraud detection, uh, whatnot. But yeah, we added GraphReg first because it was super hyped, and yeah, people like to use it and to gain more productivity in their use cases. And yeah, this is the whole guide how you can actually estimate the sizing and how you can gain benefit from your reg use cases. So yeah, let me get back to the presentation. Yeah, future improvements from the Memgraph side. First thing, vector index TCO reduction. So yeah, currently Memgraph offers like 4 bytes. Usearch actually offers 4 bytes for the float. We didn't yet make the integration that will make it like F16, which is like a 2-byte float. Although we have seen that the drop in accuracy, if we use like F16, is less than 1%, which is then great because we can offer this to the users to use like either 2-byte floats or 4-byte floats or whatever they want. F16 is also used in neural networks, so that seems like a pretty valid reason to use it. And then we also have our own like legacy storage for the lists and stuff where these all embeddings reside. So that means that kind of the information is kept in the index, but it's also kept in Memgraph storage. So that's kind of a duplicate. So we would want to remove the whole Memgraph storage embedding implementation and actually just reference it from the index, which will then make us make it use less memory, and we value that in Memgraph because we know we're in RAM and people want us to decrease memory, and yeah, that's on the roadmap. Also, because we are doing these, we are storing paragraphs as well as the embeddings that can be big strings, which are usually not queried. They are just retrieved as paragraphs for LLM figuring out from the unstructured data what's the answer and stuff like that. So yeah, in the future, we'll also port that to disk if there is no plan on the use case to filter those strings with matches or stuff like that. So yeah, immutable big strings on disk as document paragraphs, just to bring down TCO even further. And yeah, stronger framework compatibility, Llama Index, Line Graph, MCP. We are developing this every week and being closer to something where we really like to help all of the companies develop their use cases without needing to code anything, and also stronger graph chat functionalities currently. it's a good chatbot and stuff, but with the next version of GraphChat, you'll be able to integrate with Memgraph's tools, which we will provide to you, like PageRank, betweenness, centrality, path traversals, basic match queries, and stuff like that, and create your own business workflows in order to get value. Yeah, thank you for your time. This was the whole presentation. I hope you had fun, and yeah, please check out the code. You can even start Streamlit yourself and try to ingest some Wikipedia article and figure out like is it able to answer your questions and stuff like that. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Josip. It was a great demo and presentation, and we have a couple of questions to follow up. So you did explain a lot of things regarding the benefits of using GraphRag, but maybe to just emphasize like the key points there are like two similar questions. So one of them was like the benefit of GraphRag, like using probably a graph database instead of a vector database. That's like one thing. And can you kind of compare the performance of Memgraph RAG to a non-graph approach? I think those two questions are quite similar, but maybe to go over it once again, like what's the actual benefit of graph and then the Memgraph in that RAG story?
Yeah. I mean, as I already said, like if you have like your vector database and then you have memgraph, obviously the trade-off is like something like you have two solutions versus memgraph is bundled with the vector database. And obviously like some companies already have their vector database solutions. We don't want to enforce them to use like memgraph's vector index. They can actually use just for graph memgraph, and then they can use pinecone or any other vector database and then use them combined. Obviously they would need some kind of gluing mechanism in the code in order to stitch. Some people don't like this approach because they want everything being offered as one solution, and then they want to have like one stack, and then they provide everything with memgraph, and that's why we kind of offer both things. Regarding the performance of the whether they use some other solution, that depends on the actual vector solution. So when you're doing vector search, there's not much graphy things going in the way. We tend to choose like usearch because it was in memory, it offered the best performance for us, and we thought we would benefit the most because we are in memory graph database. Our business model is actually to be the most performant, and that's why we actually chose usearch. Yeah, as I said, benchmarks are coming and stuff like that, but yeah, stay tuned for that. Can you tell us how memgraph rag would perform better compared to
Yeah,
non-graph
that's
approach?
yeah.
Yeah, that's the second question. I mean, the actual question here is actually there is like this particular example can be actually carried out with any technology. This is not like something super particular tied to a graph use case. Like you can even do like a SQL database or something like that for these paragraphs and stuff. Obviously for pub quizzes, like I don't know, I use like connected approach where I actually just used like I don't know 5 subsequent paragraphs, generated stuff from the pub quiz, and you can also retrieve like your random paragraphs from any other solution and stuff like that. But in some cases, when you have like multiple systems, multiple legacy systems, you would then want to actually connect them inside one database, which can be memgraph because multiple sources then are like behave as highly connected and behave more as a graph. And also it depends more on the use case. Like if your use case is supply chain, if your use case is fraud detection, if your use case is cybersecurity, gas pipelines, not sure, data lineage, whatever it is, then the actual structure of the graph is that you have many hops. Your structured data will more benefit from the graph approach. And then it makes sense more to put even the unstructured data coupled with the graph inside a vector database, whether it's memgraph or not memgraphs, and then do pivot search from vector search, like retrieve me the source point for the graph from these paragraphs, and then do expansion for the graph in order to retrieve like relevant context, which will then gain you higher accuracy. As for the like, people always ask me, like what is the actual benefit here of the graph? The benefit here of the graph has been the same from when graph databases started. It is to eliminate joins in high hops. So nothing has changed when the LLM started to take place here, but is just more productive in these use cases for which graph solution is the best. Imagine there was no LLMs, for which use case you would choose graph database. For those who have many recursive stuff, for many joins, for many hops and stuff like that, then graph solutions makes sense. Of course, if you have an easy Mickey Mouse example like this one, you can obviously use any solution. But yeah, I just wanted to showcase how easy it is now to actually make this kind of example and actually show it to your business, because most businesses now don't have this yet in place, and they will start having, and then everybody will benefit and make less menial work and do more productive work.
And I like the comment on this question from Abelkader. Sorry if I mispronounced it. Hi, nice to have you here. So he said, like, Memgraph RAG leverages the structure of graph data to track relationships between concepts, not just text similarity. It's like using GPS instead of wandering with a compass and vibes. I like that comparison. Do you see it's like a comment to the question, can you tell us how Memgraph Lab would perform better? But yeah, I like the comparison, and I think it's a good answer as well. And definitely, although this example doesn't maybe showcase the true value of the connected relationships that you have within the database that would provide bigger context to the LLM, it still proves the value of having both vector search and graph database capabilities within the one system, which is Memgraph, I would say.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
There were a couple of questions regarding the vector index, and I think Remco actually responded himself, but the question was initially, can you combine the vector index search with node property filters? The question was like, can you do that within the vector search, or do you need to first find the case similar nodes and then filter by some node property? And kind of for now, you would have to do the first, like the whole vector index search, right?
I mean, basically the vector index is formed on a specific property and specific
Yeah.
label, so that means you can create more vector indices which will be semantically different for your search, and then you can utilize a special for this one. I used Rome like vector index, and then obviously if I ingested from another Wikipedia page, then I can use a separate vector index to query just these parameters, and that kind of does my filtering and stuff. However, if I need to do like other filters, then obviously you can query that specific node. I mean, when you retrieve those specific nodes, you can perform additional filtering, because I mean, vector search is just like a call procedure, and then you can do your where appended to the cipher query and execute it as the one. So you can do whatever you want, basically. Yeah.
And related question to that, like, what's the point of the label Rome? And my question was, can you maybe also explain what's the point of the label all? I saw you have both,
Ah,
so can you
yeah,
explain
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that was meant like Rome was just like I didn't want to. I mean, the Wikipedia pages. I think the title can be with blank spaces. Like the actual
Mm-hmm.
page is actually history of Rome, and then obviously since I used like a different languages and stuff like that. Then I didn't want to mess with Unicode and all these characters, so I just set like label Rome for this page. So that was kind of my how I wanted my knowledge base of Rome to be named. And then all is actually if you had like multiple Wikipedia pages, you can either chat with your knowledge with your all of your knowledge, or you can chat with like I don't know only the knowledge from Rome. Maybe I can even share it.
So if you
Let's
ingested like multiple different pages, you would basically provide a different label for a different page, right? And then all of the nodes from that page would have a different label, right? For
yeah,
example, Greece.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay, good.
let's try history of Greece. Streamlit. Yeah, I can even like let's not save it as anything. Let's yeah, ingest from scratch. Hopefully this will work.
So we would expect history of Greece being the label here, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. This is more than live demo, Josip, you see?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course it doesn't work, but
This
yeah, yeah.
usually. I mean, it was the weekend vibe coding, but on that topic, can you maybe comment on, in general, like your opinion, since you are a developer and also C++ developer and Python developer, like, what do you think about vibe coding? Like you did this for a weekend and it's a cool app to play with and to showcase, but what do you think about it in general?
I mean, in general, yeah, I think it's fun. I mean, if you can go hiking, you better do that. But yeah, I felt like I I wanted to wipe code, and then yeah, obviously these things happen when you wipe code. You have a lot of errors. But yeah, it's just about the POC providing the the initial value, and then hopefully by making sure like you do like thorough work, you can enable it more and be like, I don't know, robust. Um,
Yeah,
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 I mean, it's good. So yeah, I use cursor. There was a question regarding cursor. Yeah, the cursor itself doesn't generate a cipher query. If you use like rag approach, then you would actually use like an LLM that will do like text to cipher, and then you would prompt it. Okay, you are like a cipher expert. You need to generate me a cipher query. These are the specifics for memgraph cipher, and then it will actually the LLM will actually use you the cipher query. Cursor is there just as an IDE to figure out what you're doing in your Python app or any other app, and then just provide you the diffs for the files in order for you to be easier. Because if you don't use like an IDE with code generation, then you need to copy paste it into the web UI, let's say of ChatGPT or of Gemini, and then obviously they're writing one code, but you can also code in your IDE, and then they can like that's not synced, and that's kind of a problem.
And like, how did you then, in the end, create nodes and relationships? Because there was a question like, can you show the code that directs to LLM? So how did you create nodes and relationships?
Yeah, okay, that's I can do that. So we didn't actually create nodes with the LLM, so that was done basically. Let me actually figure out where are the memory storage. We actually hard coded the creating of the nodes and relationships, but we use prompts for two stuff. One is for chatting with knowledge, for actually figuring out what's the answer, and one is for pub quiz generation. So here is actually when you get similar documents, then you actually call vector search, and this is when you actually how the Wikipedia processor actually acts is here we have the Wikipedia processor. Llama Index offers an integration to Wikipedia. It can actually load data from a page. It can strip paragraphs. We then generate embeddings with the embedding generator. An embedding generator is just actually a sentence transformer. And I use this one, which is then converting it to 768 floating number representation. And then when you say get embeddings, it will return you these floats. And then when you have the paragraphs and the embeddings, then you can actually ingest them in Memgraph. And then how do you ingest them? You just do creates and you do the mapping of the relationships. And you don't need like to generate it with LLM because that's always going to be there. Like that's the backbone of your application. You need to create nodes and relationships. So I wouldn't like leave that to the LLM. Where I would leave that to the LLM was, let's say, if we had some kind of the whole graph in the database, and then we wanted to query something from the structured data, and then figure out, okay, what is my, I'm not sure, what are the stats for this kind of node, or like perform me to hop something, and then it will like generate every time different query. But these are pretty static queries. They are there for actually making sure the app is working. And yeah, that's it. What else is there? Yeah, this is my controller. The storage controller is actually the memgraph, and then we have the LLM controller. So we have we have a method answer questions based on excerpts, where is that first prompt, um, and yeah, we have the context, which is kind of the excerpts. These are what memgraph has offered as the similar paragraphs, and then it actually just uses GPT for retrieving the answer from the excerpts, which are the documents in memgraph, and retrieves the answer, and then generate quiz which is kind of from some paragraphs which were retrieved from the database, and that's also retrieved statically, like I just coded where it is. Yeah, like just a plain BFS expansion of 5 concatenated paragraphs, and then okay, from this chunk of like few connected paragraphs, generate me a quiz, and then do me in this representation, and yeah, display it. Obviously, the app is coded in Streamlit, and then that's like easy 200 line application with all these functionalities.
Thank you, Josip. Yeah, I sent all of these links in the chat, so you can check the code that Josip was showing. You can try it out. If you have questions, you can join our Discord server, and we will be there and we hang out there. We have just a small note in the chat, Josip. You have an invite for a beer in Arizona. That's a good invite. I like that from John. But he's been mentioning a topic of MCP. So he was wondering how Memgraph MCP server is working out compared with others. He has found a repository. Actually, John, this repository when we started doing MCP server, we implemented it there, but currently we are moving everything to the AI toolkit repository. So everything is going to be released from there, and we are doing that because we are trying to come up with like a full base and set of memgraph tools that will be allowed within MCP and LangChain and Llama Index and so on. So we are currently dealing a bit with the process of working everything out inside one repository. But yeah, also working on various memgraphs tools that you would be able to use, not only having like a query tool and schema tool within MCP server, but we would like to enable other tools as well. Josip, do you have any other comment on like Memgraph MCP? Like, what are your thoughts so far? Did you hear anything useful from the community or Memgraph users?
So I'm not directly working on MCP, but I know that we are making active progress on it every week. And yeah, if anything, like people can reach us on community or on sales calls
Yeah.
and actually offer us their experiences of what's missing, what they feel would be great, and we are sure actually to support MCP, whatever the use case is for people that want to use MCP. And yeah, we just want to pave the way for them in order to make business value. So yeah, rest assured about that.
Yeah, as Joseph said, definitely following up what's happening within the AI space and trying to support what we can. So any kind of feedback and proposition you might have, what needs to be added, like it's great. And comment, that's not an MCP server, it's a tool registry. Yeah. But yeah, definitely. Thank you, Josip, for doing the presentation. It was lovely hearing you and learning from you, and a lot of good questions from the community as well. Thank you, everyone, for asking your questions. And just a heads up, it's still not published, but we will have another Memgraph community call in about 2 weeks. It's on 27th of May. We will have company EbCont along with my colleague Ante presenting. It will again be around vector search, but a bit different this time, as we will do it on images as an unstructured data, and we will showcase a value of a graph within that use case as well. So if you are interested in learning more about vector search along with some hops, expansions, and so on to learn the value of that, definitely join the next and register for the next Memgraph community call. And that's it. Josip, do you have any other closing words?
Not much. Yeah, hopefully this was at least somewhat insightful for you guys. Maybe I did uncover something that will make you more productive. And yeah, if you have any questions, please reach out to us, and we'll also get better in figuring out how to enable uh, people in graph space even more.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sending a link to join Discord in the chat. Don't hesitate to ask questions there or open a discussion or our Memgraph repository or an issue, whatever. We like your feedback, and I guess hear from you soon on the another Memgraph community call. Thank you for joining, and bye.